Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me. So, hope you have been doing the meditation with me. I'm not quite sure about how many people are joining with the meditation. Anyway, so the topic of this morning's talk is Karmic Stagnation, a test of faith. And so it's very important to feel why things are happening or not happening the way you don't like it or you don't want it. And people think there's some kind of a karmic pattern in which they feel stuck, and it seems like as they are more like they're more stuck in a situation which they don't know why that is happening, and then they may even question the validity of the law of causality. So therefore, it's definitely a challenge or test of faith, if one has any, in one's understanding and belief and faith in the law of karma. Because the law of karma is actually, without having to believe in it, everything happens due to the causes and conditions that is giving rise to a situation. But then the very situation itself doesn't have one finite effect. It too will be determined by how do we take it, or how do we don't take it, and what kind of set of mind stream we have that enables us to exhaust the karmic pattern. Or sometimes the thing that happens to us is a kind of unpleasant kind of effect on us, and because of our inability to accept that situation, that we can react in a very negative way, even not very actively, but we deep down, outwardly, we're not saying anything or doing anything, but deep down we are not totally humbly accepting that situation as it is, because we do not have just as a clear mindset that understand why things are happening. We often cannot have the ability. We do not have the ability to see why things are happening to us. We don't really know that our own mental kind of attitude itself is not quite receptive to anything that happens. So there is a kind of underlying resentment and cynicism why things happen, and one doesn't seem to have power to accept it and then have the ability to transform it. So karmic stagnation that people feel is that they themselves do not have any kind of power or wisdom or ability to change the attitude. They don't have an emotional tone that can be changed from one to another. There is kind of fixed kind of attitude. So that's why the stagnation, idea of being stuck. But so therefore, sometimes it could be mainly caused by one's own lack of positive attitude for the time being, where one is not able to take on any more like that. As a result of that, one has this list of things about which one has not been happy or contented with life, with what has or has not been happening with one's life, because of these kind of attitude with which one has been resenting, very, 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 very subtly speaking. Outwardly, one might say, "Yes, I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine," but deep down, one is not. One is actually this really suppressing those emotions, and then deep down, one has nowhere to turn to. one feels, why me? What all the good things I try to do isn't rewarded, but all the things that I don't want are happening with me, and because of that, one has a almost like a doubt about the law of cause and effect, or whether by doing good is rewarded at all at any time, or whether others who do things, they seem to get away what they do, even though they're negative. They seem to be taking advantage. So lots of people can have this doubt and kind of a concern whether the law of karma is real or true or not. They don't. So of course, law of cause and effect is not should not be really questioned. The question is that whether we have the fitness to face difficulties, because karma doesn't mean the fixed kind of result. It could have a very the result is very much determined by how we will relate to it. When we have the very good positive state of mind, we may be able to accept some defeats or insult or by others. Why? Because we love them or we respect them, or but deep down, one is still really, why me? Why I have to do this again? Oh yes, of course, if I don't do, who will do? Then one give in again. So there is this kind of a lack of confidence in doing one either way, but one is always trying to play the soft way to not to upset other people, and then one thinks, oh, I'm doing this, I'm getting exactly what I at least want because of the way I'm not able to do. So this kind of karmic stagnation happens. Usually the people have people in their lives or situation in their life that are a result of their own karmic attachment. Some of them might be your children or your brother or sister or someone who's loved one very close to you. Because of your attachment to them as my son or my brother or my sister and so on, then you seem to be very much affected by what's happening or not happening to the other, more than you yourself have a say to do anything. And this kind of bundled up karma, you can what they would call karma that is bundled up, that these two people have to suffer like that together, or that we have to have someone like that is so close to our life, in our life, that we feel committed to, but more committed we are for their well-being, that much we suffer as a result of that commitment. So that's kind of karmic stagnation has been paired quite a while ago, maybe even in the past lives, and most probably in the past life, what one did together to somebody. Now oneself and somebody is suffering so much in this life at the hands of some other people. So therefore, the person who is experiencing this kind of karma of being insulted or hurt or kind of treated with contempt or abuse or whatever, because if that happens to you, it happens to the other, because you two are so inseparably bound by your karmic pattern. You know, they are like that. People just have so much attachment to their son or daughter or husband or wife, and at the same time they have just as much as anger and hatred towards them, and they love so much so, but they keep hating them. So this kind of stagnation is mainly caused by afflictions. When the affliction causes, most people aren't aware that the affliction is causing. And that's why they call affliction. Affliction just makes you to become unaware of what situation oneself has brought upon oneself. One has ability of course, to say, no, I'm not going to do this. I don't need to suffer like this anymore. Even you are my such and such. I need to get out of this. And one doesn't have the courage to do that. But because once unfinished karma from the past, he says, so these two has been bundled, but they could not part from each other because of their emotional attachment, not only in this life, but also the unfinished karma from the past, which is therefore stagnating oneself in that same situation. So therefore, in order to learn to accept that with humbleness and humility, one needs to believe in the benefit of accepting those situations, and as a result of the past, you could not reject it. If you reject it, it is creating more causes for the future to snowball on top of that. Therefore, the stagnation can only be relieved if one has a very positive attitude with which one actually respond in a very positive way and accepted the humility, and then that can exhaust the causes that has been snowballing. So therefore, test of faith, is that if you really believe in what you're thinking is a cause, and this, if you're not very careful, your intention itself is going to cause the problem either to escalate or de-escalate, depending what intention you invest. So you have to be really intentionally attentive as to what set of circumstances are perpetuating itself because of our lack of ingenuity or creativity or innovation. When you have the kind of faith in the workings of the law of karma, if I accept this right now with humility and dignity and understanding, it will at least exhaust the problem. It will weaken the problem from staying strong and escalating it. When you have that kind of belief, you don't feel stagnated by the problems, but the problems are actually making you to make a very smart response. If you have a smart response emotionally, intellectually, and behaviorally as well, then this can not only test your faith, but not just in test of faith and a blind faith, but test of faith in terms of confidence. You know that you have to bear these difficulties, hardships now, in order to not become stagnated. Stagnated, but previously rejected, you also rejecting now. So stagnation comes from this lack of innovation. So if one is able to respond very creatively, to accept with humility as unresolved karma of the past, let me accept it with humility, and as a result of my accepting of that, then you have faith that if you accept it, it will change your attitude for the next, if it was going to repeat itself. Why? Because you're habituating to do something that is based on your faith in the workings of the law of cause and effect. Because the cause is not so much what happens out there that makes us experience, but mainly we never experience what people did to us. We actually experience what our attitude is doing to us in the long run. It may seem like other people screamed at or yelled at you or put you down, that is making you feel bad. But your weak and very kind of vulnerable attitude can double the trouble. But if you have the very positive and holistic attitude towards them, not seeing it as them, but rather seeing that as a result of set of circumstances, even somebody angry makes you angry, that means if you are achieving something, If someone is angry at you, you shouldn't think it's them. That's the kind of situation they are under, and you don't need to subscribe to that. If you subscribe to that, you will generate enmity and aversion, and then this can exacerbate your karmic stagnation even more. So how do we know we are karmically stagnated, but that we are actually not changing our attitude about a problem at all? We just say under their evil hand or their evil reaction, I suffer again and again. So you tend to lump everything up without actually learning to add the facts carefully together. So when you are unable to add the facts together, you're only sort of focusing on lumping things up. Why this happened to me? I'm stuck in this. I cannot go like this at all. But one is, because you have been keeping the kind of pile-o-light going, all this aversion and enmity. And yeah, so the cause, that is the cause. Cause of your stagnation is the negative, destructive, unintelligent emotions. When you can see the negative as negative and destructiveness as destructive, then you can learn to put a stop to that, put a stop to those, then the stagnation will be stopped. Like say if your shoestring is tied between the door and the hinge when you go out, your shoe stuck in the string. So you got to know why the shoe is not coming out, because stuck with the string is attached to the hinge, and then unless you go and open the door and undo with that, it will, no matter how much you pull, you feel stuck, Just like that as an example. People feel really, really stuck. They didn't realize how their shoestring-like attachment is holding them back. They don't have the ability to say to the son, or saying, look, I cannot have you anymore. Please, you live somewhere. Leave me alone. You try to sort your life on your own. I cannot do this anymore. One doesn't have that courage to say, because one is very attached to it. See? So the karmic stagnation is caused by one's attachment. One moment, one thing is that because of the sun's problem, that you are stagnated. But another moment, you can realize, oh, it's my own attachment or love to the sun. One doesn't want to let go. One doesn't want to risk some kind of a difficulty temporarily, but actually teach them to grow strong by themselves. You're spoiling themselves in one regards without knowing you are. And so whatever difficult happens to them, it becomes your difficulty. Why? Not because their difficulty affects you more than anybody else, but you're attached to them. If your son's father, your husband, doesn't take the similar amount of brand of what's happening to the son, it's because he's not so much attached to it. Yeah, so you need to choose kind of emotions that you are giving rise to, what it is contributing to. See, when you can recognize subjectively your own attitude needing to be modified and changed, then you're not stagnated. Then you know exactly what change you need to bring from within. When you know how to bring this change from within, that's the taste of faith. You then are able to take up some new approaches that you haven't tried, and therefore, if you're able to adopt a new approach to the problem, unlike before, you're not stuck, is it? You have given yourself an alternative opinion or your reaction to it. As soon as you are able to give you the power of choice in your mind, then you have the great, almost like a new horizon opens before you. You don't feel stagnated at one spot, one place. Why? You are not seeing the stagnation as external condition, but rather your internal condition. You're so unaware of your own attitudes of the situation. Because of that, you feel stagnated. As soon as you know I'm being suffocated by myself, by having this attachment to my son or to somebody, and then you don't feel as much as impacted or impinged by the things that doesn't go well with your son, because you know that what you can do, you can. What you can't do, you're not worrying even for your son. This is very important, very intelligent way of doing it. Your son cannot say, oh, my dad doesn't think about me anymore. He may think like that, but doesn't matter. Let him think like that, but you know deep down that's not the case. The case is you are trying to bring some fresh outlook to the set of circumstances that was not going anywhere before. So any alternative is a daring kind of ability to give a new perspective to the set of circumstances. When you're able to do that, then your test of faith will enable yourself to imagine. Imagine something good can come as long as you can let go of something that is holding you, that is actually holding you and weighing you down lower and lower and lower. So to be free from that, you should cut the string that is you're attached to, and therefore cause a little bit of distance. And you don't see your flow very clearly unless you do that. One is always externalizing the flow of somebody else's problem that is impinging on me. When you have the test of faith happening and your faith is now growing and increasing with your own faith in not some divine intervention here, faith in the causes, the emotional and verbal and intellectual kind of tips you can bring into your mind, these can unstuck yourself. So it's good to have detachment even to your son. What you can't do, don't worry too much. So, but yet you don't have the skill to do that. You can't say, no, he's my son. They say, as your son is truly existing son. Of course, it's your son is your son, but what you can do for him and what you cannot do for him is only partially your responsibility, but not entirely responsible. Why? Because the person as your son or child has his own set of karma. They need to come and grow up and learn to take. And so you don't need to die for nothing for them, because you can't revive them. You can't revive them unless they themselves revive them. In order for them to be revived or restore their dignity in doing something, we need to predispose something, some signal that actually teaches them, don't become overly dependent on me, because I feel more stuck with putting my emotional instabilities in you as objects of love or concern or care or whatever. It is actually depleting my own fitness to be of useful to myself, let alone being able to make a difference to you or others. Because of that, give me the break, so much so that I can learn to reinvent myself and find a new way. So that is the testing of faith. Your faith is now not dented by the difficulty you face, but it has teaching you new courage, new daring ability, and a strategy that will open your mind for a new way of doing things. And then the karma doesn't get stuck. Karma itself is not a thing. Karma is just a set of circumstances. So when you're able to sort of create causes to soften the problem itself, then you're no longer the problem and no longer the victim of the problem either. You actually are a solver of the problem. And it's important that you don't make him scream and yell about existence of the problem. When it comes to solving, you do nothing. Why are you so good at spotting problems and alarming yourself or others when you're not contributing anything to solve the problem? That is what most people feel. They can see the problem, they can talk about the problem, but when it to solve the problem, they're not taking any initiative. So, test of faith is those people who have seen themselves doing that part too many times, now wanted to reinvent themselves how to overcome those difficulties with one's ingenuity and ability to embrace and look for new horizons. So therefore, one is not looking for immediate feel-good result. One is almost need to have to forecast. If I think like this, it will really, really allay and remove many of the hindrances I'm currently facing. But even though I may have a very shortfall of being able to overcome that now, but inconvenience never mind, difficulties never mind, because it teaches me to develop the very skill I lack now, and therefore you are quite willing to temporarily go through a tough and difficult situation, knowing that this will teach us the skill that we lack now. Because of that, you're not kind of you're not ignoring what you're suffering now, but you are actually using the present suffering as something to exhaust the kind of conditions that your mind is usually so stagnated with, so that you will this time you will develop a response that you are not repeatedly perpetuating it yourself. So that this kind of self-perpetuation has to be acknowledged by the self that it knows it is doing it. If somebody else saying you are doing this yourself, we wouldn't like it because we think they are implicating us, or they're just laying blame on us and pointing our flaws. Sure, that's right. So if we have great difficulties of citing and spotting our own flaws, if somebody points that to us, don't you think that a great opportunity for you to embrace that problem, that you yourself couldn't have recognized that, but someone else has pointed. So it's not so much somebody who's praising to you that you become delighted, but someone who's really able to face you and point what they see is your problem, and then see that as a great I would say, catalyst for yourself to be able to have the positive response to it, in order not to overreact and react to it in a negative way, because that itself will create the karmic pattern perpetuated. But when one is predisposing and learning to do something completely contrary to it, that you haven't tested that water before, but when you try to do it, then it will make yourself not stuck. It will make yourself opening a new way. You're not stuck. If this doesn't go away the way you like, then you think that's a doom. No. You need to see what, because of that didn't work. What kind of new avenues and opportunities it should enable me to open and find and discover. So when you have that, there's amazing infinite possibility. If this way you can't cross the river, maybe you can cross downstreams. If you can't cross the river downstreams, you can go upstreams. If you cannot cross the river neither by going upstreams nor by downstreams, then how can you cross the river where you are? Is it that you lack? Is it that you lack a boat or something like that, or what? What are you talking about? If you have a boatman, if even you don't have a boatman, you can't really cross it yourself. You need to find someone who is a boatman. So it's not so much the river is swelling and cannot cross upstreams or downstreams, but because you need to find the river itself as that instigate a new kind of a strategy. So learn yourself as you go, on the spot. So then when you're able to develop that, you are not sort of pessimistically discouraged to look for other avenues when you have those difficulties, because you're not stuck in the karmic kind of a stagnation, but rather you are able to witness the karma, but you can see how fluid the karma is. This way or that way, you have extraordinary opportunity to turn this to that, or from that to this. And when you have the alternatives, you need to therefore give the degree of patience and tolerance until it exceedingly make it clear to your mind how to go about. This kind of innovation or resilience in you will therefore not dent your morale and become aversive and difficult with the situation, but rather you will be able to relook at it and look at it from another angle and try to solve the problem in a very, very patient but consistent manner. And solving one problem doesn't mean it will solve all the problems. Solving one problem may enable you to discover new problems. And so therefore, if you are so impatient to any new problems and you can't handle them anymore, so that's again the karmic stagnation. When there is the test of faith happening, how to overcome the karmic stagnation is you don't lump the present set of circumstances with the things that didn't work. What was past and what is present are a huge gap. of discrepancies. So therefore, neither lump those two or yourself with the past or in any other way. When you're able to do that, your mind becomes slightly set. You have reset your mind, basically. Yeah, you have reset your mind. If something isn't working, reset your mind, and don't think that you can't try again. Yeah, try again, but different ways, and then you do not see yourself a whim at the doing of other people's action, but you will see yourself having ingenuity and creativity to develop a new way of doing it. When you can reset your mind, then the object is also slightly different. And you have an approach that is already very new and fresh. When you are able to open new alternative and reset your mind, and you can see differently on the object. As soon as you reset your mind, the object or circumstances or people will not manifest as you thought they were. Why? Because you have reset your mind. If you don't reset the mind, that's what you're oscillating, or you're just going in circle one too many times to feel very, very samsarically trapped. So to know you are trapped and to be free from the entrapment, you have to find a way. And the causes of entrapment and how to deconstruct the causes of the entrapment. And when one is able to access this through your thinking and sometimes quiet sitting and a meditation, maybe you're doing the very conscious watching of the round of breath, and while you're doing that, you have quite witnessed a new opportunity for the mind to try that one has not previously given a try at all. So because of that, you have this bright new idea. New idea means Dharma is a refreshingly new idea. It always, when you pay heed to the Dharma, it always makes you to see the object or circumstances in a very transformative way. Dharma means to transform. You have to transform your mindset. You need to reset your mind and not become so addicted to one way or another, and then if that doesn't work, you give up, fed up with that. No. Everything is impermanent, including your failure, including your so your failure can. When you have failed many times, you should know how differently you should do next step. See, all the failings are actually interdependently necessary for you to succeed this time. So it is important to not feel as if you have no testable faith left because you have tried all your things and they all become ineffective. People can be very pessimistic and therefore give up on themselves, give up on others, and they just don't care. They become so cynical and so uncaring even for themselves, let alone others. They just got tired of doing anything for the others because they just didn't get anything what they want, karmically speaking. So they are stuck, poor me. I didn't get anything what I want. Why on I'm doing this sort of thing? There is this self-belting and self-sabotaging happening. Because of that, there's a lot of grief and sadness and sorrow. And one is externalizing and resenting that to someone out there as we are suffering under their hand. So that's the stagnation. Karmic stagnation. Now, one who knows the science of this then becomes very, very informed and almost discover your mind. And you can find your mind and the truth. And then you say, look, I don't need to go on this path that I've gone so many years or months that I don't need to be cornered by this kind of circumstances because I'm stupid, foolish to stay like this long. I should have woken up and revolutionize myself to look at these problems on the problems of the world complete from different point of view. And when you have meditated, unless you meditate, it's very difficult. This kind of clarity of mind comes. You've got to sit and watch the rounds of breath, and while looks like you're watching the round of breath, or whether counting or whatever you're doing, but in the process of doing that, some kind of clarity dawns in your mind that suggests you to look from this way about that problem. And when you have that kind of lending, when you can lend your attention to that kind of fresh idea, then you can see how something quickly shifts to your liking, and very brightly lit you become. And because of that, all the difficulties that karmically that you experience would have now paid the price, would have now released yourself from that kind of a stagnation, and it has now taught you a very bright and sane approach that you may adopt from here onwards. Particularly no self-hatred, no poor me attitude. If there is no poor me and self-hatred attitude, you're that much tolerant and generous to the people in your lives, and as a result of that, you don't feel stuck having in their lives and their problems affecting you, but you don't feel stuck with them. You feel committed to help them. When you don't want to help, you feel stuck. When you wanted to help them, committed, it doesn't feel stuck. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. You're the only son, or you're the only whatever it is to the person. If you don't do it, who will do? So you don't feel as if they owe something to you, or you've done too much for them, and why should I do? Not that kind of mean attitudes, but exactly opposite of that. Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I be committed to my only sister or only son or only this? Who else should be doing that? Because I have my own self-interest to the well-being of my sister or my whatever. So therefore, any aches and pains and anger related to her naturally comes with that. So if you plant a tree, you don't just get the tree, but you get leaves and branches and barks and all sorts of things. You may not like the barks, but you still have to get. It still comes with the tree. And if you're interested in that main trunk of the tree and not in the barks, but still you have to cause the felling of the tree and then remove the barks separately and not use them as a furniture or whatever. But they themselves it comes with it. You can't buy without banana leaf, banana peel. You go to the shop and ask them to sell the banana without banana peel. Most people say, "What the hell are you doing about?" So you're stuck to buy banana with banana peels. Okay, you don't realize how much the banana peel actually protect the banana even from the shop to the home, let alone in your fridge in your home. So we have to accept certain things instead of. The reason we have to accept is because it's got some function. Banana peel has some function to protect the banana for its lifespan. However, it is good enough to keep. The longer you need to keep, that much more the banana peel is necessary. If you unpeel a banana this morning, saying that I don't like banana peels, and then leave that unpeeled banana with other bananas, then in the afternoon you will see your unpeeled bananas are still okay, but peeled banana is not okay because you unpeeled this morning, it's been sitting there. So therefore, it is important to be able to see how many of the problems that you think you don't want are actually has a function for you. Because if your sister needs you, it's because you are a sister. Who's the nearest and dearest to your sister other than you? There's no one. So why do you feel so unwilling to give and help to your only sister? you think you're stuck. You don't have a choice to not to do. If you didn't do, you feel grateful, regretful, and guilty. I didn't do this. If you did it, you think, why should I be doing this? And that is kind of a self-caused, self-karmic stagnation. So in order to stay unstuck from the stagnation, we need to then innovatively develop a new strategy and approach, and that only comes when your mind is very clear. So you need to see how you can refresh your mind, reset the mind, and then don't see the object as identical to your attitude. See how much of the object is blurred by your attitude about the object. When you do that, you are seeing your mind. And when you see your mind, you don't have to associate that attitude with this or with them, and put that attitude somewhere, and you can always revisit it whether you like it. Otherwise, you can do away with that attachment, with that opinion. People are suffering self-opinions most of the time. And that, not knowing that, is a delusion, affliction. One who knows that will not allow that to continue and continue to cause that harm to oneself or others. So with this, we will conclude here this talk. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. So there will be Jeff Newton, who will be taking the next Sunday session, the meditation talk, who's one of our members who will be running the Sunday session next week, because I will be in retreat. So thank you very much, everyone. Very much take care, and I'll do a short dedication of merits. Om Bade Mere Me Havaga Dadeva Menzanga Om Neza Me Ale Bere Obi from the ocean of Badare Sinade Herenda Mahayana Jiji Vadeva Merera Hava me obi because love to hold the Mahayana Jiji Jambaba Vichidra Jambada Kundu Samba Deya Dijand Teda Kunji Jesu Daloji Gewan de Dadanje Radu Janju Zunju Rinpoche Maje Bana Maje Jiraje Keba Nyamba Mebaye Gonya Gondu Bewarajo. Hi, thank you.